It's the debate, isn't it? The one that never really ends. Sachin Tendulkar versus Virat Kohli. The god of cricket versus the king. For years, we've all argued about it, comparing stats, styles, legacies. But today, we're going to dig a little deeper and tackle the real question at the heart of it all.
Right, let's get into it. What if we could just swap them? Pluck Sachin out of the 90s and drop him into today's game. And what if we sent Virat Kohli back in time to face the legend Sachin went up against? See, this isn't just about picking who's better. It's about trying to understand what greatness even means when the game itself changes so much. So, if you just look at the raw numbers, wow, the story seems pretty straightforward. Kohli's stats are just out of this world. He's already blown past Sachin's century record, and he's done it in way fewer matches. And that average and strike rate, they're on another level. On paper, you'd look at this and say, okay, case closed. But you and I both know that's not how it works, right? Cricket isn't played on a spreadsheet. The game has changed so much. And just comparing these raw stats is like comparing apples and oranges. To really get to the truth, we've got to peel back the layers.
And this brings us to the most important part of this whole conversation. These guys played in completely different worlds. Tendulkar's era and Kohli's era might as well be two different sports sometimes. And understanding those differences, well, that's the key to this whole debate. Let's start with something you might not even think about, the ball itself. Back in Sachin's day, they used one single white ball for all 50 overs. Now picture that. By the end of an innings, that ball was old, soft, and all scuffed up, which was perfect for bowlers who mastered reverse swing. But now, they use two new balls, one from each end. This means the ball stays harder and newer, which is great for batsmen, but it has pretty much killed the art of reverse swing. That was a huge weapon, just gone.
And it wasn't just the ball. The whole field is different. Today's game has much stricter fielding restrictions, which creates massive gaps for batsmen to hit into. On top of that, the boundaries have been pulled in, sometimes by as much as 10 or 15 meters. You put all that together, and you can see why a good score back then was maybe 250, and now teams are regularly chasing down 300 plus.
And of course, the bats. Modern bats are basically weapons. They're lighter, but the sweet spots are enormous. For Tendulkar, a little mishit, you edge it, and you're probably caught. For Kohli, that same little mishit can easily fly over the rope for 6. The gear today is just way more forgiving and generates way more power.
So, with all these huge differences, how on earth can we make a fair comparison? Well, luckily, statisticians have a pretty clever tool for this. Instead of just looking at the raw numbers, we can actually adjust them to create a level playing field.
It's called era adjustment. And honestly, the best way to think about it is like adjusting for inflation. $1 in 1990 could buy a lot more than $1 today, right? Well, a run in the 1990s was a lot harder to get than a run is today. So by comparing how much better a player was than the average player of his own time, we can kind of figure out what his stats might look like in a different era. And when we do that, the results are absolutely staggering. If we drop Tendulkar into today's game, his projected average shoots up to around 60 to 62, which is right there with Kohli, maybe even a little bit ahead. But look at his strike rate. It explodes. We're talking 105 to 110. That's just completely blowing past Kohli's current rate.
This chart really puts it all into perspective. You see Tendulkar's actual career average, just under 45, which was totally elite for his time. But when you adjust for today's context, the bats, the fields, the rules, that same performance translates to an average in the low 60s. That jump is just massive.
But this whole debate isn't just about the numbers, even adjusted ones. A spreadsheet can't capture everything. To really get the full picture, we have to look at the stuff the data doesn't always show, like who were they actually playing against?
And this is where it gets pretty scary. Tendulkar, especially in the 90s, was facing an absolute murderer's row of bowlers, all at the peak of their powers. Look at this list. We're talking about Wasim Akram's unplayable reverse swing, Glenn McGrath's relentless accuracy, and the magic of Shane Warne and Murali Tharan. It was a true gauntlet of all-time greats, day in and day out. And here's another huge factor, the team around them. For so much of his career, Tendulkar was the lone warrior. He was the Indian batting lineup. The pressure on him was just unbelievable. If he failed, India often failed. Kohli, on the other hand, has played in one of the strongest batting lineups ever. Sharing the load with guys like Rohit Sharma and MS Dhoni, the numbers tell the story. Sachin's partners averaged around 40, while Kohli's are up closer to 48.
So, after all that, the raw stats, the era adjustment, the intangibles, where do we land? Well, it's not as simple as saying one is better. It's more like we're looking at two totally different models of greatness.
This really is the best way to see it.
Tendulkar was the original template. He basically invented what it means to be an attacking ODI opener, and he did it in much tougher conditions. Kohli is the modern perfection. He took that template and, through insane fitness and focus, perfected the art of the run chase to a level of consistency that is just freakish.
There was a quote from one of our sources that just puts it perfectly. It captures the whole legacy. Tendulkar built the foundation, he showed a whole generation what was possible, and Kohli, standing on that foundation, has built an absolute empire of records.
So in the end, our whole analysis points to this really fascinating conclusion. The models all suggest that if you put a prime Sachin Tendulkar in today's game, his numbers would be even more dominant than they already were. But that takes nothing away from Virat Kohli, who is, without any doubt, the most ruthlessly efficient run chaser the game has ever seen.
Which leaves us with one last big question. We've seen just how much context, the rules, the gear, the opposition, shapes a player's legacy. So if greatness is so deeply tied to its own time and place, can there ever really be just one greatest of all time? Or is it better to just appreciate these two masters for what they are, the defining, undisputed champions of their own generations?